So there you go. I wrote it in the title. People sent me a message yesterday going, Simon won't even say the words out loud because you think I'm some kind of crazy person. What I've realized in the last 24 hours is as much as I love wrestling, and basically wrestling has thrown up over my life to do this content, I wrestle myself and I watch all the wrestling in the world, somehow people are more, I'll go with the word passionate than me, but I think I mean crazy, right? However, when I get so many social media messages, I'm like, well, there is something to discuss there. And of course, it took over the internet, but Danhausen debuted for WWE on Saturday night, and it has become a controversial hot topic, but not really, because wrestling is the least important of the most important things. Flip that around, the most important, the least important things. It doesn't matter whether you liked it or not. It doesn't matter whether I liked it or not. You can just take it, and I kind of feel like we should have moved on by now. But I took what a few interesting people sent me. I've made that the title, and of course I'm going to debate otherwise, especially because some people have compared it to the Gobbledygooker, and it is not the same. That to me is just pulling at straws. But I am Simon Miller. I am annoying. I'm aware of this. I have to live with this, man. Think about me and the poor people that I surround myself with. Please do like the video, subscribe, and do all that stuff. Let's go. Now, I think maybe one of the things I forgot to say in my Elimination Chamber review that went up yesterday, please do check it out now. I'll try and remember to pop a card up here, but it will be up there at some point during this video, is that yes, one of the reasons maybe there was some booing at the end of the Danhausen entrance at the Elimination Chamber is because people didn't know who he was, and that's perfectly fine. That's okay. Then all of a sudden we get into this argument, oh, so-and-so should have run a video package. Well, they didn't, okay? I'm not going to waste my time getting worried about that. And if you didn't know who Danhausen was, and you had got super excited about this crate, who's going to be in the crate, I saw someone think it was going to be The Rock, which has to be, that's the most ridiculous pull, right? There was no way The Rock was going to come out of a crate. Why would The Rock come out of a crate? You have to have the right character to come out of a crate. And yes, of course, it could have been Chris Jericho. I'll talk about that in just 1 second. But if your expectations were up here and then somebody walks out that you're not familiar with, sure, you can be a bit put off depending on where your excitement levels were, right? And that is a perfectly normal and understandable reaction. I'm not mad at you. And even if you did know who Danhausen was and didn't want it to be Danhausen, that's okay as well. There is no right or wrong here. The right or wrong comes when you don't want somebody to have a job, or for some reason you hate the person behind the Danhausen character, which is very weird. Even Ricky Morton, one of the greatest wrestlers of all time. And if you are trained to be a professional wrestler right now, you should be watching tape on this man and how he was able to sell and his hot tags and all these kind of things. I don't want to get into that right now. It's a different video for a different day. But even he, as you can see on the screen right now, I think it'll be over there, I can't remember where I set all these stupid videos, was saying, just be happy for these guys. And there is no way he's not going to get over. That's for part 2 of this video. So I'm going to put it over there. But no, just to answer the question or the hot take from the title of this video, it was not the worst debut of all time. Are you absolutely crazy? The worst debut of the time is probably the Gobbledygooker, when a massive turkey emerged from an egg. Now, sure, the build was the same, because that's what you do to promote one of these things. There has to be a mysterious sense to it. Otherwise, you're not going to be excited. You're not going to put your money down to see what's in the damn thing without all of that, right? That makes perfect sense. But the Gobbledygooker was literally some guy, was Hector Guerrero, in a turkey costume. Now, I understand the 1990s, the WWF especially then was more aimed at kids, but even kids was like, this was an absolute pile of baloney. What are you doing? I always compare it to Nintendo, especially because allegedly, and who knows if this is true, Vince McMahon had seen the success of like Sonic and Sega and Mario and Nintendo and felt like the WWF needed a mascot too. But even if you go back and play a Super Mario World or a Super Mario All-Stars where you get all of the games, or a Super Mario 64, that happened sort of, 6 to 8 years later. 96 Mario 64 came out, right? Oh my gosh, it's so old. I can't handle it. But Nintendo made sure those games were not pandered down just because they were trying to aim them at children predominantly. They made sure it was just an amazing experience so adults could enjoy them and kids would feel challenged by them, and that's why they wanted to get into it. And that's always been the way. Go back to the good kids cartoons. These things have layers and they have depth and they have substance to them. So when a giant turkey came out, I think we all felt a little bit insulted. Now listen, Hector Guerrero, the person inside there, was an esteemed professional wrestler, but nobody knew as Hector Guerrero. Danhausen's been busting his ass, I found out yesterday, for like 10 years on the independent scene. Now, he doesn't have to be your guy, you don't have to be into his character, you cannot understand his shtick, but if this is the way that WWE decided to present him, it is not a Gobbledygooker situation, even if some people in that Chicago arena didn't know who he was. Now, I'm not sure how true or not true that is, but I do think it's a theory worth worth exploring. That's also only 20,000 people in an arena, and no way was 20,000 people doing it, because he did get a pop. I don't care what you say. Maybe it wasn't the levels you were expecting, but he does get a reaction when he first came out. If you look at the amount of people that have viewed to watch that video, or a lot of the reactions that I've seen online firsthand, when we look at the wider audience, a lot of people are pumped about this, and I am one of them. And I said this yesterday, and I'll say it again. Could there have been an option where the crate opens and Danhausen just comes out, what's going on? I don't understand, because he's so damn good at that stuff. Could we have done something where an R-Truth accidentally opens the box early, maybe even do it backstage, completely get rid of the pomp and circumstance? Although as a wrestler myself, I think that's very mean. I think you always want to be in and amongst the energy. But there was this idea that somebody put to me that, R-Truth could have opened it, and Danhausen's like, you ruined it. I've been traveling around for so long, I had all these dancing women, and then they come out. But we can get to that in due course. I can only look at it from my point of view, right? And I just think when you do break it down step by step, which again I did yesterday, so I'm not going to do it again now, only Danhausen could have done this. And I actually think now the sheer controversy, I use that word although I'm being way too over the top, but the sheer controversy around it is pure Danhausen. I just think it's going to help him. And if I think WWE books him the right way, this is going to be an absolute treat. He's also been doing social media posts like this, which I just find funny because it's dumb. And I like goofy wrestling. And so many people responded to me when I tweeted this out, going, oh yeah, really funny, ha ha ha. Once again, you don't have to find it funny. If we all found the same stuff funny, life would be so damn boring. But you don't have to get mad about it. Move on, find something else, go outside. But going back to this whole Chris Jericho thing, because there's another argument about all of this now. Chris Jericho never would have come out of a box. Of course he would have done, should he have wanted to. The coming out of a box is so damn old school that Vince Russo and Jim Cornette, who used to be involved with the WWE, if you don't know, used to argue about this. There's interviews of Vince Russo being like, Jim Cornette's crazy, man. He just wanted to be people come out of boxes. And then Jim Cornette would say, here's the historical list of people that came out of pseudo boxes, and it did very well. And of course, Michael Cole would call it a box-like structure. So I don't think it's totally mad that Chris Jericho wouldn't have come up with this, given that he does have old school tendencies. But yes, given that the way it was revealed and the way it all did go down, it made much more sense for it to be Danhausen. But I just think that the more I thought about it, it actually grew on me throughout the day, especially the puff of smoke at the end, which is quite clearly, that's the other thing that drove me nuts. Some people thought that was an accident. I was like, oh, I can't do this today. It's totally crazy. Of course that was planned. You think that they had all these pyrotechnics and the only thing that off was a puff and it just happened to tie in with the lights going out? I actually think the WWE is probably, what's the word I'm looking for, but got a good idea. Or maybe Danhausen's given a lot of ideas about what he does want to do. I just think this is going to be a joy. And listen, if you're not into the R-Truths of the world, or you're not into some of the more silly side of sports entertainment, then fine, it's not for you, but wrestling should never just be for you, and it never should just be for me. If the whole thing was comedy, that would suck. If the whole thing was serious, that would suck, especially because the show goes 52 weeks a year. And I'd actually argue one of the criticisms from new WWE, if we want to call it that, is there is not enough gaga. Now, listen, the Vince McMahon era, sometimes there was way too much gaga, a lot of it was bad. But for my taste, Danhausen has always been very funny, but I want to caveat that with this, that you didn't have to have liked any of this. You can hate it, all of it. You can be screaming at your television, this is not what I want from WWE. And I totally respect that, but I don't think it's a bust. I don't think that it's the end before it even begins. Some people really like to go hyperbole on this stuff. And look, if we get 6 months down the line, it's not working, we'll revisit it again. But Danhausen has been able to create an absolute monster brand. Go and look at some of his merchandise numbers, which I'm sure WWE looked at and like, oh my gosh, that he was able to create without national TV. You don't just do that by magic, and you don't do that by happenstance. And then you get this mad people who's also, he's probably not going to wrestle much. Why wouldn't he wrestle much? There's this idea now that you have to be the greatest professional wrestler ever to make it in the big leagues, when there are people out there right now who are at the top of cards that aren't the best professional wrestlers, depending on what you deem to be best professional wrestling is. If you're talking bell to bell and you like a certain style, there are thousands of guys that should be at the top of cards, and they're not. At the same time, if you're into promos and big characters and personality and charisma, then those guys are up there. And sure, sometimes their matches may be of certain taste, for lack of a better term, but that's just how wrestling works. Sometimes wrestling isn't about the wrestling, it's about what you, the fan, can gravitate towards. So I really sort of take umbrage with that, because, and I'm not going to name names, although there's some of the biggest stars ever that have defined eras were, I want to say they were average in the ring, but in terms of their moveset, sorry CM Punk, but I can't think of another word. Sure, it was somewhat limited, but they knew how to work a crowd, they understood what their character was, they understood how to connect with the fans, and that's why they were able to get there. Now, sometimes you want that, and sometimes you want someone going out there and doing flippy-dippy-doo-dah. If you can't expect the same thing all of the time. So for people just to write Danhausen off as a wrestler because you don't think Danhausen is the greatest wrestler ever, I don't actually know what that means. Why am I getting so mad? I don't know. But I don't know what it means. Because if I wake up one day and I want to watch one of my favorite matches ever, the Outrunners versus Orange Cassidy, I don't put on Kenny Omega versus Okada. And if I wake up one day and I want to see timing and long-paced matches and whatever you want to call it, then I'll put that on. Some days I wake up and I want to watch Austin versus Bret Hart, which is my favorite match of all time. Some days I want to wake up and I want to see Santino Marella, I should say, doing his dumb stuff. I understand what you mean about bell-to-bell in-ring action, but if you're just watching wrestling exclusively for that, then you cannot be into WWE because they are a smorgasbord. Is that even the right word? I don't know. Of ideas and variety. One day you're going to get this and one day you're going to get that. Look at the second half of WrestleMania 40, Night 2, the main event, Cody Rhodes, Roman Reigns. That's just the Avengers for pro wrestling, and it's brilliant. It's one of the best things that has ever happened in the history of modern day professional wrestling as far as I'm concerned. And there's no wrestling. It's people just running out and going, oh, well, I'm here now. People were so into that. When the Shield's music hit, they thought it was Dean Ambrose. That was illogical. That didn't make any sense, but because you had bought it emotionally, you just thought, oh, I'm going to go on this ride. And apparently you were riding a horse, which is weird because you've been in a stadium and nobody would let you in. So I just think some of these hot takes have gotten way out of control, and all you need to do is go on the internet to see that it's probably, I wouldn't say 50-50, I'd say 70-20 or 70-30. Why can't I do basic maths? But once again, I have to point this out because all I got yesterday was, oh, you're saying I can't like it. You are allowed to hate it. You're allowed to hate me. Just don't lie. That's the one thing I can't stand. People make stuff up, things that have never happened. I'm like, why would I do that? Like one of my real big bad bugbears from yesterday. I shouldn't say this because the guy will somehow see this and I think he's talking about me. Well, I am talking about you. You know, I'm only a human being. You can get through my armor sometimes, but it's very hard these days after doing it for a decade. But when I mentioned that maybe one of the reasons I enjoyed it more is because I've worked Danhausen, that wasn't, I worked in the wrestling ring, I should say. It sounds like I'm speaking in spooky wookie talk, but that doesn't mean that I'm giving him a free pass because I know him. It means there will be a side of me as a human being because I have sympathy and empathy and all these other feelings that go through my tum-tum going, wow, isn't it great that somebody I worked a couple of years ago was able to achieve their dream? That makes me feel better about it. It's not a free pass, like I say. That's not me going, I'm just going to ignore all these negative feelings. No, you cannot have a platform like this. And I know I don't have a big platform. I don't care. I enjoy what I do. But you have to be honest and you have to be transparent. That's why I mention it. It's not me going, well, it would have been crap otherwise. Do you watch my content? Of course you do. You're watching it right now. I'm not even talking to you. I'm talking to these ghosts that are over here. If you don't know by now that if somebody comes out, dances with women that have dressed up like him, tells Wade Barrett, up yours, by the way, I missed that, give some teeth to Michael Cole before vanishing in a puff of smoke, then no, you don't know who I am. As a person, I would kill for that. You hear me? I would kill for somebody to ring me up and say, Simon, we want you to come on TV and make an absolute fool of yourself. I'll sign up right now. Don't need to tell me the wage. I'll just do it because that's the stuff that makes me happy, right? I just like being a moron. This is a cheap plug now, and you have to forgive me. But I got a brand new interview shoe. Yes, it's just Between Two Ferns. Yes, it's just AEW. But I used to do it back in 2016 when I worked in video games. It's called Under the Mat. I'll make sure it's linked in the description. It is just joke interviews that at the moment I am doing with professional wrestlers in the United Kingdom. Thank you very much for your time. Of course, I'm going to reach out and try and do it with more people. I'd love it for it to blow up. But I am the butt of those jokes, and I act like an idiot. It's a character version of me. It's a Larry David version of me, if you know that, if you know what I mean by that. And I just enjoy doing it, and I love people insulting me because I think it's funny. It's all ad-libbed and it's all off the cuff, hence why I pick certain people that I think are going to be able to do that, and I'm just entertained by it. Why I stopped doing it in 2016, I don't know. Talk about not seeing the future, but hey-ho, the best time to do anything is now or 10 years ago. But my point being is it's just not exclusive to Danhausen. And again, I just mentioned Santino Marella, which only just tied into my head in these last few moments. I talked about Orange Cassidy versus the Outrunners, which really is an amalgamation of goofy wrestling and serious wrestling. Like, it's absolutely brilliant. I think that thing is a work of art. Hence why I did put it in. I put that 2 years ago in my 10 best matches, I believe 2025, 2024. Time moves so fast. I can't keep up with it. So it's nothing new. I've got a t-shirt that says Goofy Wrestling for Life. There's another cheap plug, prowrestlingtees.com/Simon Miller. I just find it crazy the way, although I understand it. It's the same with football. It's the same with sports. It's the same with movies. You react to things in the moment. So it was the worst debut of all time is jumping on a bandwagon a little bit. And some people will genuinely think that. And again, more power to you. But I think it's always good to have some sort of balance in your life and in your heart and in your brain where you go, well, somebody must have liked it. And actually, when you look, a lot of people thought it was hilarious, but, and now I am repeating myself, of course there was a disconnect because we're so used to big WWE moments. Somebody comes out, oh my gosh, cheer, 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 segment's over and we go elsewhere. And here there was some boos, and that obviously is what people have jumped upon. And I think it's probably because people didn't know who it was. I think it's probably because people were expecting somebody else, Chris Jericho or The Rock, if you're totally off your rocker. That was a stupid thing to say. Or, yes, maybe you just wanted to see more than an entrance that lasted 2 minutes after a few weeks of build. But I'm never going to get mad at the build, right? At this stage, it's like Christian Cage in AEW. I think Christian Cage was deserving of all the hoopla that was around him. And look at the run that he went on after this. And of course, whatever Danhausen does will be completely different to that. But I think what he offers professional wrestling is so damn important. And I certainly don't want to see it to go away. This video was not meant to be a rant, but quite clearly I'm way more passionate about this than I meant to. But that's good, because now you can come yell at me again, although I'll give you a little secret. If you've lasted this long in the video, I assume we're friendly, right? So I can tell you this. I may take one day a month, usually after a pay-per-view, where I have some fun. I'm such a child with people on the internet. I'm never mad on social media. If I ever have an interaction with you and it comes across in the wrong way, you've read it wrong. Or maybe I sent it wrong, but the tone is always meant to be friendly. But there's one day when I will reply to people and they just get so wound up and I get a kick out of it because I'm a bad person. Then bless you, you send me DMs saying, no, Simon, don't get wound up by this. I'm like, dude, I'm laughing my ass off. I'm crying tears here because it's just wrestling and I love it. And look what it's given me. What a wonderful time I get to have every single day, but it is not important in my real life. As soon as the cameras go off and as soon as I'm done with the editing, as soon as I've watched the show, and as soon as I've compiled my thoughts and thrown that out there into the world, I'm very lucky to get to go to do other stuff that I'm very passionate about, very excited about. And I'm never going to let wrestling get me down. Some people think I pander or I just say things because I want to get booked by WWE, AEW. It has literally been 10 years of me making wrestling content, and not once has anybody ever offered me a booking based on a good or bad video. So by now I've realized, even if that was in my thoughts, which I can tell you for sure it never was, I just wanted to make YouTube content. I thought it would be fun. By now I've realized this is not a pathway. I'm a positive guy, right? And I like professional wrestling. And even the stuff I don't like, I will tell you. We have made videos on this channel. Why is this about me now? We have made videos on this channel saying that SmackDown episode wasn't very good. AEW probably shouldn't have done that with a belt, because it's just the way that I thought on a day. It's why I'm not a WWE fan, I'm not an AEW fan, or I am both of those fans. But I'm a pro wrestling fan, and some days I wake up and I want WWE theme content. Some days I wake up and want AEW. Some days I want New Japan, Ring of Honor, and stuff like that. Oh my gosh, let's just talk about Ring of Honor quickly. Because Ring of Honor, look at that, man. That's the coolest thing ever, right? That is studio wrestling. And instantly get people going, oh, it's not many people there. It's not meant to be in a big building, wrestling arena, funny-majig, have a good time. It's deliberate studio wrestling for a product which now has found its niche. You don't want that to go away. You want WWE to continue to get into bigger arenas. And sure, there's a problem with ticket prices right now, but I'll do that on a different video. Let's not get carried away. You want AEW to continue to grow and do the Wembleys and all of that because it's good for professional wrestling. But you do not want these smaller brands to go away. And sure, Ring of Honor isn't where it once was. I think we can all say that. I would say AEW has replaced whatever that was. But as soon as that goes away, we're going to have a video game problem. In video games, you used to have AAA, you have the indies, and there was a bunch of games in between. THQ dying, which of course you remember used to do the WWE games, was really upsetting for this sort of middle tier worth of game, where all of a sudden nobody can make that anymore because games to be profitable is just so damn hard. I'm not saying that wrestling is the same business, the same industry, but you do not want the Ring of Honors to leave this space. You do not want studio wrestling to go away. You have to have these different themes wrestling. I would imagine a lot of people that see that and reacted badly, and again, you can decide that's not for you, have never really got into the independent side of wrestling, which you don't have to. We talked about that before. No gatekeeping by my end. Just because you don't know who some hardcore Japanese wrestler from 1982 is, you are still as much as a wrestling fan as somebody that is well versed in New Japan or All Japan or no, whatever it may be. But as soon as that goes away, the complete structure of what professional wrestling is would be in danger, which is why you always want the independents to be smashing it as well. I do not understand how we've got here. I have a massive problem. And if you have watched his videos, I massively appreciate. But I think that Ring of Honor show, to use a word that I never use, but I've decided to do it because I've lost my absolute marbles today. I think it looks dope, right? And I think studio wrestling is super duper fun. The whole point is you can put 100, 200, 3 people in a building building, you can make it look really cool. And as someone that does do independent wrestling, I've been in buildings with 150 people, and if they are on it and if they are making noise, it can sound like 10,000. It doesn't make any sense, but that is the beauty of professional wrestling. But to get back to the point, more power to Danhausen. On a human-to-human level, isn't it amazing that a man came up with one of the strangest gimmicks of all time, made it entertaining, and made it all the way to the biggest company in the world? If you are a professional wrestler, you're not inspired by that, well, I would imagine that you would be. And I would imagine most people in the business, from a worker point of view, are super psyched about this, because it just goes to show that we are living in a world right now where all the doors are open and you can do whatever you want, and you should follow your dreams. I'm going to end it with a completely disgusting, corny, positive message, but whatever you want to do, just go and do it. Even if you are a 38-year-old man or woman, and you've always wanted to go to be a professional wrestler, but someone's telling you can't do it, of course you can. Your goal can be just to get through a training core or a training seminar or have one match, right? You're going to have to protect yourself, and you have to be smarter than someone that's 22 because you've got more miles on your body, even from just living your life. But you absolutely should do it. I would go back to that phrase that I talked about a minute ago. The best time to do something is 10 years or right now. You didn't do it 10 years ago, and there is no Back to the Future 4, so go and do it today. Don't have any regrets. And essentially, that is what someone like a Danhausen did, and so many other people that have made it to the big time. And I think that there is worth in that. Even if I wasn't a fan of the Danhausen character, seeing somebody do that is always going to put a smile on my face, because I think it's motivational, I think it's inspirational, and it keeps me on my game as well. Like maybe one day my channel will grow up, and I'll start... blow up, and I'll stop getting those ridiculous deals. Your channel's not very big, Simon. Where is the insult? The guy, so your views are terrible. What are you doing? You go through my statistics every single year. I need this. I need a numbers guy. You should be emailing me with your portfolio, not sending me insane DMs. I'll leave it there. This is not what the video was meant to be about, but I feel good getting it out. It's because I took last week off, right? And then I got food poisoning on Thursday, so I had 4 days in bed with stuff coming out of me. Don't need to talk about that. So now I'm fired up, right? It's a reminder of what Simon Miller content can be. I'll say I'll see you soon, but now I got to do my outro. Because, of course, if you liked any of that, and I'll be surprised if you did, please do like the video, share the video, subscribe, click the links down there and click the video on the screen, which will be my Elimination Chamber review. You can get all my thoughts. And yeah, I'll tell you right now, I thought the show was okay, right? That's the best that I can give you. Otherwise, yes, go to the Under the Mat stuff. That'll be down there as well. GorillaMind.com/Simon. Use code Simon, get 10% off. They sponsor my videos. Maybe they'll change their mind after this. Patreon.com/Simon316 to support me there. Simon316. DMs are open, man. You can send me whatever you want. I've lost my damn mind. I need sleep and I need food. I'm not eating enough today because I'm worried about what could happen. Otherwise, come check out TikToks for a bunch of clips on all the stuff that we are talking about today. Pro Wrestling Tees we've already discussed, and you can get a cameo, which is a lot like this, to be honest. It's usually me going off in a very strange way. I appreciate you. I enjoyed the last 20 minutes or so, and I will see your ass soon.